back to Module 5, Azure Application Security. So, let me take an example. Just saying you are running an organization, and to handle your internal process, you have your own internal application. Now, you definitely do not want to give access to the outsider, as well as you even want to restrict access between the employees. Now, to encrypt your application, you need certificate. This certificate you can buy from any other certified resource or from Microsoft Azure, and you can create and you can install it. You have two types of certificate. These are private or public. It's a TLS server certificate that's fully managed by app service and renewed continuously or automatically in 6 months increment, or before 45 days expiration. You create your own certificate and bid it to a custom domain and let the app service do the rest. So, uh, if you what is TLS? It is a transport layer security, an encryption protocol which ensures the privacy and data integrity between the communicating application and their user on the internet. Let's understand what is app registration. App registration, it's like registering your app establishes a trust between your app, and the Microsoft Identity Platform. This registration creates a token information, a unique application ID, that is one or more endpoints, and an application secret. Where do you do this? You can only register your application on Active Directory. Example, in your organization, you only want to allow certain application and restrict the others. So for this case, there are some applications which are restricted in Active Directory, and the application which are not restricted are known as unauthorized applications. The next thing is lock. As we saw in previous two modules, that we had set a lock such that nobody can delete the storage account, or in the database, nobody could delete the data. So similarly, we have an app detection protection over here, lock, where you nobody else can delete your certificate. So now let's go to the console. So let's go to the portal. Now I'll create an application. So I'll go to app service. I'll create. I'll select a resource group. Now I'll set it as web app. Okay. Now I'll publish it as code. Runtime stack I'll select as ASP.NET. Then I'll change the region to East US. East US. And rest I'll keep as default. Next I'll go to deployment. Now, over here, what happens is, if you're taking your application code from other resource other than GitHub, GitHub is a default resource from where you can integrate your program. But other than GitHub, if you're using any other resource, you have to enable this option. Since I'm going to use GitHub, so I need not enable it. I'll go to the next option, monitoring, where the monitoring is enabled, and I'll review and create. Since it's creating, I'll just log into GitHub. Okay. I'll go to resource. Now you can see there's a default application which is created over here, and you can see the subscription. It is Microsoft Partner Network. And now when I want to, I'll just copy the link and I'll paste it on a new tab. Now you can see there is no restriction. Anybody can access the application. Now we don't want this to happen. So let's see, how do we authenticate users? Now we'll go to the portal BAT and we'll go to authentication. I'll add identity provider. You must have seen many websites which ask for identity provider to sign in. Like you can sign in using Google or Facebook or Twitter. For now, I'm going to use Microsoft. What happens in this is the identity is automatically taken from the identity provider. So the default name actually appears. We have created a new app registration. So I'll just click on next permission. Now you can see in permissions that the user permission by default is set as read. So the person cannot modify anything in the application. So I'll just go and add. See, now we have added identity provider in it. Now we have set the identification. So let me go to the app registration. I'll go to active registration. So here you can see your app is being seen. That your registration has been done. But this is not a complete registration. So what you will do for registering your application is you will go to enterprise registration. Go back to the directory. I'll go to enterprise application. In enterprise application, you will see your application. This is my application. I'll just open my application. And now here you can see you can assign the users. You can give permission to only those users who can access your website, the web application. So I'm going to add the user. So here there's no user selected. So I'll just select one user. I'll select as Shweta as the user. I'll select her. Okay, so I will assign her now. Now you can see that I have set Shweta as my user. Now what will happen here is when I am selecting Shweta as the user, only she can actually log into the web application. Now we'll go to the website and refresh it and see. Now you can see. Now they are asking for authentications. You cannot authenticate or you cannot access the web application without signing in and here only Shweta has the permission to sign in. So we'll go back to the console and we'll see the other security app provided by Azure. I'll go back to web services. Now you have option for certificate. As I told you, certificate is very important. So over here, as I told you, that certification is important. So we have two types of certification. That is, one is private and one is public. Now, what happens here is I can I can take the certificate from any authorized certificate, or you can also create your own certificate. So what happens here, as I told you, that it is a registry between the application and the relationship. It is the relationship between the application and the web server. So what is TLS? As I told you, it is a transport layer security encryption protocol which ensures the privacy and the data integrity between the communicating application and their user on the internet. Private key, as you see, that it gives you the status of your application, like whether it is healthy or any warnings that it shows, like any breach of the any security breach will take place or is taking place. It warns you about it, and then, as I told you, the certificate will be automatically updated again after 6 months or before the expiry date. So it will show the expiry date as well. So now we saw TLS and SSL. The next thing that we'll see is lock. As we saw in past two modules, that in storage and database, that we could add a lock. So in this, nobody can delete your app service. So I'll just I'll just add like do not delete, and as I'll click it as delete, contact your manager. I'll click OK. So now if I'm trying to delete my app service, I should get an error. I'll click on yes and delete. See, executed delete command on one select item. It was exhausted and now you cannot delete. Until unless you remove the lock, you cannot delete the application. So here we learned about application security. Now we'll continue with the next module where we'll learn about Azure Identity Security.